As you can see by my photo here, I was the definition of a skinny guy, so I know exactly how hard it is for you to build muscle. In this video, if you're a skinny guy, I'm going to show you exactly how to gain weight. If you want to learn how to build muscle and how to lose body fat, then subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you click the little bell as well, that's going to notify you every time I upload a new YouTube video so that you don't miss it. Also, at the very end of the video, I'm going to share with you the bonus tip, which is just going to be some foods that you can eat to bulk up, because I know a lot of people don't know exactly what type of foods they need to eat, so that's going to be right at the end of the video. I've split this video up into 3 categories, and then we'll go into subcategories of these 3 topics, and I'm doing this so that you guys actually understand what we're going to talk about in this video. So the first one is your training and your exercise, what type of training to do. The second thing is going to be the diet, the nutrition side of things, how much to eat, how many calories to eat, what type of foods to eat. And then at the end, we need to also talk about, right before the bonus tip, rest and recovery and how important that is. Tip number 1 is training. Now, a lot of people will say that diet is 90% of everything you do, 80% of everything you do. And diet is important, rest and recovery is important, training is important. And here's my stance on it. I don't think we should be saying that one is more important than the other, but one thing I will say is, yes, for fat loss, diet is the most important thing, but when it comes to building muscle, the most important thing in my opinion is training, because without training, you will not build any muscle. So the first thing that you need to start doing is lifting weights. Now, if you've never lifted weights before, then I recommend aiming for 9 sets per body part per week. And I recommend only 6 sets per week for the biceps and the triceps, because they're smaller muscle groups, they require less work. That's if you've never done any weight training before. If you've been weight training for maybe a year or so, then increase your sets to 12 sets per week, or even decrease if you're doing too many sets per week. And then with the biceps and triceps, you can do 9 sets per week if you've been training for more than a year. I've found that 9 to 12 sets for beginners is perfect for building muscle, and the reason is because you want to hit the sweet spot. A lot of people get this wrong. Most people are doing too much volume. If you just keep doing 15, 18, 24 sets a week, you're not going to be able to build as much muscle as you would if you actually did less, because the idea is to stimulate and work those muscles, not absolutely annihilate and destroy them. On the other hand, we don't want to only be doing maybe 5 sets a week, or let's say 6, 7 sets a week per body part, because obviously that isn't enough. As for what type of weight training to do, I don't recommend split routines. Full body workouts, all the data proves that full body workouts are superior for building muscle. Working 3 days per week on those full body workouts. So it would be 3 sets per body part, and then you do that 3 times per week, which equals 9 sets per week. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's probably the greatest bodybuilder of all time, once said that he could walk into a gym, do 1 set of any exercise, it would take him 2 minutes, and he could accomplish more than everybody else in the gym who's spending, an hour or 2 on their workouts. And the lesson that we can take from this, whether you're a beginner or all the way up to an advanced lifter, is that the focus should always be on your form. And listen in, because this is very important. Just throwing the weight around and trying to lift more weight and heavier weight is not going to help your muscles grow. The idea is to work the target muscle, to stimulate the target muscle. If we're doing a basic, just simple bicep curl, lifting the weight from point A to point B, the weight should be lifted slowly. You should be focusing on that particular muscle, not the arm, not how much weight you can lift, all just on the bicep, only on that muscle. So you lift the weight very slowly on the way up, you squeeze the muscle at the top, make sure you're squeezing the bicep, the right muscle, then lower the weight and feel the stretch on the way back down. You walk into a gym, just observe, look what people are doing. People are just pumping through the reps from point A to point B, and that's exactly what Arnold Schwarzenegger meant by just saying, I can accomplish more than all of these people who are just pumping through the weight. So always be focusing on your form. Another thing to be focusing on is your compound movements. When you're choosing exercises, choose exercises that work multiple muscle groups. So for example, if you want to work the chest, for example, choose a bench press, because it's going to work the chest, the shoulders and the triceps. If you choose something like a cable fly, you're just working the chest, you're not working shoulders and triceps. So compound movements are going to work multiple muscle groups at once. They're the things that you should be focusing on. So to make the training side of things clear for you people that are beginning, if you're skinny and you want to gain weight, you need to focus on lifting weights, full body workouts, compound movements, focusing on your form, and then making sure you get a minimum of around 9 sets per week per body part. The other thing that I would add in there, if you're concerned about rep ranges or rest time, just really quickly, anywhere in the 8 to 10 rep range for a beginner is optimal, and rest periods around 60 to 90 seconds between each set. Just very quickly before we get into tip number 2, and we know how important nutrition and diet is going to be for skinny guys, but if you want to apply to work with me on my one-on-one coaching program, if you click the link in the description, I am accepting applications right now. Unfortunately, I can't work with everybody, but I'm going to read through the applications, and the people that I feel like are a good fit for us to work together, I'm going to send you an email. We can book a 10-minute coaching call to discuss your goals, and if I can help you. If I can't help you, I'll point you in the right direction and accept somebody else into the coaching program. This is so that you can learn how to get ripped without giving up your favorite foods. Tip number 2 is about diet and nutrition, and this is the point that most skinny guys struggle with the most. We know that if you want to build muscle and want to gain weight, you have to eat more calories. I do cover this in my Eat Big to Get Big video, and I go a bit more in detail on that. But how we gain weight is we need to eat in a calorie surplus. Now, most people will say that they're eating a lot of calories. What I always say to people is that you need to eat enough calories. Whatever your body requires, everyone's different. If you're a skinny guy, you might have to eat 4,000 calories a day. You might not, you might have to eat 3,000. Who knows, but you need to find that out. The way that I teach skinny guys to do this is to aim for around 0.5 pounds per week on the scale. That's how much you want to gain. If you're gaining any more than that, you're just gaining unnecessary body fat. And the way that you find out if you're eating in a calorie surplus is do this simple calculation. So take your body weight in pounds, multiply by 16 to 20, depending on how much you think you're going to struggle to gain weight and depending on how active you are as well. But if you're going through puberty and you have a fast metabolism, things like that are going to be a big factor in that. But anywhere in that range, I recommend starting out of the lower end. For example, you might be 150 pounds multiplied by 16, that's 2,400 calories a day. You might want to multiply that by 18 or 20, but just start out with 16 if you don't know where to start. At that point, you can weigh yourself at the beginning and at the end of the week and find out how much weight you've gained, if you have gained any weight. If you haven't, add 100 to 200 calories to that. If you still haven't gained weight the week after, add another 200 calories, and you keep adding calories until you gain that 0.5 pounds consistently every week. You adjust the calories from there. If you've gained too much weight, then take 100 calories. So you just keep adjusting on the fly every single week. When it comes to your nutrition, the second most important thing is going to be protein. You cannot build muscle on a low protein diet. You need protein to be able to repair and rebuild those muscles that you've been tearing down in the gym from those workouts. If you don't have enough protein, you will not build muscle. So the optimal amount of protein is around 1 gram per pound of body weight. So take your body weight in pounds again, multiply by 1 and then eat that many grams of protein per day. If you are a total beginner and you're struggling to hit those protein numbers, because it is a lot to take on, trying to get all your training right, trying to focus on your form, trying to set your nutrition up, I understand it can be overwhelming. So what I do is just aim for 100 grams. That's what I tell people. If you're struggling, aim for 100 grams. Within a month, you're going to be getting used to your training, you're going to get used to your diet and eating in a calorie surplus. Then you can start to increase your protein from there and add those extra grams of protein that you need to hit your numbers. So quickly before we move on to the rest and recovery, which is equally as important as the other two, when it comes to your nutrition, you want to focus on the calorie surplus, on strategic calorie surplus, and then focusing on your protein intake as well. Tip number 3 for skinny guys to gain weight is your rest and recovery, so sleep more. If you don't sleep enough, all of the other things that we've done, the calorie surplus, the training, all of that means nothing. You can't recover from your training if you're not sleeping enough. 7 to 9 hours is the optimal range, and you need that sleep to have optimal hormone function. Also, if you're not sleeping enough, you're going to have bad workouts, you're going to have injuries, things like that. It's just such an important part of training and getting in shape, building muscle. So now you can see the way I've laid it out for you. If you do all of these things, you will gain weight, you will build muscle. All you need to do is your training to break the muscles down. You have the food to repair the muscles and the quality, but also the amount of food in the calorie surplus plus to build the muscle, and then we have the sleep, rest and recovery to recover from all of those workouts and to rebuild the muscles bigger and stronger. Now, as for the bonus tip that I promised you, start out eating nutrient dense foods if you can. So for your protein, things like chicken, beef, eggs, bacon, any type of meat like that is a good source of protein. For your carbohydrates, things like pasta, oats, sweet potatoes, they're good carbohydrate sources. And as goes for your fats, coconut oil, avocados, whole milk, almond butter, regular butter, peanut butter are all really good sources of fat that are going to help you get the optimal amount of fat and gain weight. What I recommend doing is trying to stick to these types of foods, and if you're really struggling to gain weight, it doesn't mean that you can't add a few junk foods in there just to gain weight, but the majority of your diet shouldn't consist of just junk food when you're trying to gain weight if you're struggling.